hand. It looked like any other quarter, scratched, dull, forgotten in a gas station coin tray, but when a sharp-eyed collector flipped it over, he froze. That tiny piece of metal would go on to cause a frenzy across the entire coin world, and in the end, one rare version of this coin would be valued at over $1.70 million. Because this is the story of a coin that was never meant to survive. The 2019 P San Antonio Missions Quarter, and the shocking minting mistake that turned pocket change into a millionaire's dream. This coin hides in plain sight. Most people spend it without a second glance, but those who know what to look for are quietly hunting every roll of quarters in America. It began in 2019, part of the America the Beautiful series. A stunning tribute to the Spanish colonial missions of San Antonio, Texas. 5 iconic missions, carved into history. And one bold design that changed everything, but not all of them were struck equally, because somewhere deep within the Philadelphia Mint, a tiny error was born. A double die, but not just any double die. A rare, almost invisible one lurking in the fine lines of the church windows, in the archways, the bells, and in one shocking case, a misalignment so perfect, it defied explanation. At first, no one noticed. Coins came off the presses, thousands per minute, and the flawed quarters were released into circulation, mixed in with laundry money, dropped in car cup holders, buried beneath sofa cushions. But then, one man spotted something odd. He held the coin to the light, and saw something that shouldn't be there. A strange doubling in the stone walls, and a ghost-like second image beneath the main design. He sent it for grading. When the results came back, he couldn't breathe. This wasn't just a mint error. It was a first known variety, the kind of discovery that makes headlines, and overnight, prices soared. Collectors were stunned, dealers were scrambling. And a once ignored quarter had become the holy grail of modern change. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. A private collector, anonymous, quiet, discreet, had been watching, and when the first confirmed San Antonio double die quarter hit the private market, he offered a sum so outrageous, most thought it was a hoax, but it wasn't. He paid over $1.7 million for a single error quarter, because he believed it was the finest of its kind, possibly unique and irreplaceable. And just like that, the 2019 P San Antonio quarter became legend. But here's where it gets crazy. That wasn't the only one. More were discovered, some with strong doubling, others with barely visible anomalies, and every few weeks, a new variety surfaced, each one driving prices higher, and stirring panic among collectors. Some of these quarters were sold at auction for 5 figures, others were traded quietly between elite numismatists, but many are still out there, sitting in coffee shop tip jars, trapped in change machines, or stashed in a child's piggy bank. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions. And most people miss it. The doubling isn't always dramatic. On some coins, it appears only under magnification. You have to check the mission windows, the bell tower, and the arched doorways. Some even show doubling on the crosses and roofs. But it gets more mysterious. Some experts believe this error was caused not by wear or machinery, but by a misaligned die that shifted during high-pressure striking, creating a perfect storm of flaw and rarity. They never confirmed the full scope of the mistake. No official statement. No public acknowledgement, just quiet silence, while collectors continue the hunt. And now, the coin world waits, because rumors are swirling. Some say a full roll of these quarters, possibly 40 strong, may still exist, sealed and untouched. Others believe one of the mint workers may have recognized the error and pocketed several coins before anyone knew. But there's more. A Texas coin dealer claims to have seen a version with quadruple die doubling, a coin so rare it could shatter all previous records. If verified, you could be holding one and never know it. Look closely at the reverse side of the 2019 P San Antonio Missions quarter. Hold it under a bright light, use a jeweler's loupe, or your phone zoom. Inspect the bell towers, the windows, the archways. Any sign of doubling, even faint, should raise alarm. Shadow-like doubling in the church windows, blurred or split outlines around the arches, slight notches on the cross or rooftops, a ghostly double image beneath the mission facade. But be careful, some counterfeits are already appearing. Low-quality fakes with digital alterations, others are simply damaged coins, mistaken for errors. That's why authentication is key. Send potential fines to PCGS or NGC, reputable grading companies. They can confirm if your coin is real, and potentially worth hundreds of thousands, or even $1 million. Dealers are rushing to get their hands on this coin. Collectors are tearing through rolls from banks, hunting just one. Not because the odds are slim, it's life-changing. And here's what no one's telling you: this coin didn't just slip through the cracks. It survived against all odds. It traveled across states, through hundreds of hands, until it found someone who recognized its hidden value. So check your quarters, look at your change, because this isn't just a story about money, it's about discovery, history, and the thrill of finding treasure where no one else looks. The 2019 P San Antonio Missions quarter is out. They're waiting hiding. A silent millionaire in your coin jar. This exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth over $1 million. It's sitting in a private vault, insured for over $1 million. The year was 2020. The world was in chaos, but deep inside a Philadelphia mint facility, something strange happened, something no one noticed. A small batch of quarters, stamped with a nearly invisible flaw, was released into everyday circulation. They looked normal, but they were anything but, and one man, digging through his pocket change on a rainy Tuesday morning, uncovered a life-changing miracle. What he held in his hand, a regular-looking Salt River Bay quarter with a simple P mint mark, would soon stun grading experts, explode across online forums, and end up commanding an auction price that no one thought was real, over $1.8 million. But what made this coin so valuable? What microscopic detail did everyone else miss, and how many more of these hidden treasures are still floating through the hands of everyday people? That's what we're about to reveal, because this isn't just a story about a quarter. It's about how history, mistakes, and the tiniest overlooked imperfections can turn a 25-cent coin into $1 million miracle, and right now, one could be sitting in your home. So don't blink. Let's go back. Salt River Bay National Historical Park and Ecological Preserve, a breathtaking symbol of natural life and Caribbean history, was chosen for the America the Beautiful Quarters program. Millions of these coins were produced. They flooded pockets, cash registers, soda machines, but within that massive run, something slipped through the cracks. A rare batch, minted at the Philadelphia facility, bore a strange, almost ghost-like doubling. To the average eye, it was invisible, but to experts, it was a dead giveaway. Collectors now call it the ghost doubling Salt River Bay quarter, and it's not just rare. It's potentially one of the most lucrative minting errors of the decade. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world, because once word got out about this error, a few lucky individuals started digging. Videos went viral. Forums exploded. One eBay listing claimed a raw, ungraded version $4.12000. Then, a pristine MS-68 example, verified with error doubling, went up for private auction. It was expected to sell for 5 figures. It went for 7. Dealers were shocked. One collector flew cross-country just to verify the coin himself. Of the edges, the luster, the subtle misalignment, all confirmed this wasn't just hype. This was a genuine US Mint mistake that no one saw coming, and it was making people rich. But here's the twist: most of these $1 million Salt River Bay quarters are still unaccounted for, because they don't shine. They don't scream rare. They blend in. They sit in pockets, jars, couch cushions, waiting, and that's why what you're about to learn could change your life, because these quarters, the ones with the hidden doubling, can easily be mistaken for ordinary coins. Even seasoned collectors have overlooked them. So here's what to look for. Hold the 2020 Salt River Bay quarter under a strong light. Look at the roots, the red mangrove tree. Check for any shadowing, doubling, or ghost-like repetition around the branches. On some, the Salt River Bay lettering appears doubled, like a faint echo behind each letter. It's not the typical bold doubling, it's subtle, eerie, and unmistakable when you know it. Now flip it. On the obverse, Washington's face, check the Liberty and the "In God We Trust." Some rare errors show phantom shadows, a misalignment from a damaged die. That's the $1 million detail most people miss, but there's more. Some versions show what's now being called the phantom strike. A thin, raised line running vertically through the mangrove tree, a result of die damage during the 2020 production rush. These ultra-rare errors have been verified by top graders and are known to push values into 6 and 7 figures. One man's find sold for $1.8 million at private auction. Another was reportedly declined at a grocery store, only to be picked up by a janitor, who later sold it for enough to pay off his mortgage. This is a legend. This is happening right now, as you're watching. This someone, somewhere, could be dropping $1 million quarter into a vending machine, and they'll never know, unless they know what to look for. That's where you come in. Every few years, the coin world gets a jolt, a shocking discovery that resets the rules and makes collectors recheck their stashes. The 2020 Salt River Bay quarter is that coin. Experts now believe there may be fewer than 50 known examples of the doubling error, and possibly only 3 to 5 with the full ghost doubling and phantom strike combination. Those are the ones commanding life-changing offers. But even basic error versions, with slight doubling, misaligned strikes, or off-center features, are fetching $5,000, $15,000, even $35,000 in ungraded condition, and yet, most people are walking right past them. Because they don't realize a 25-cent coin can be worth $1 million, they don't realize that a coin from 2020, not 1901, not 1888, but a modern, everyday quarter, could be the rarest in their entire collection. But you do now, and here's how to protect yourself from missing out. First, Gather any 2020 Salt River Bay quarters you can find, especially those with a P mint mark. Those were struck in Philadelphia, where the errors occurred. Use a jeweler's loupe or magnifying glass. Look closely at the mangrove tree and the words Salt River Bay. If anything looks off, shadowed, blurred, or oddly repeated, put it aside immediately. Next, check Washington's face. Even the tiniest hairline misalignment could point to a rare die strike error. Don't clean the coin and never sell it raw. Get it graded by PCGS or NGC. A clean, uncirculated error could mean the difference between $500 and $500,000. Collectors are waking up, dealers are scrambling, private buyers are offering blank checks for confirmed specimens, and one lucky discovery could change your life. Because this isn't a myth. It's a $1 million coin hiding in plain sight, and the next one might be in your hand right now. So check your change, dig through that old coin jar, look again at the quarter you nearly tossed aside, because the 2020 P Salt River Bay quarter could be your $1 million miracle. This coin almost ended up in a vending machine for just 25 cents, but when one collector took a closer look, it changed his life forever. That single quarter, the 2014 Arches quarter from the Philadelphia Mint, later sold for over $1.9 million, something millions of Americans spent without a second thought, turned out to be one of the rarest modern coins ever discovered. And here's the shocking part. You might already have one, because this isn't some ancient relic locked behind glass in a museum. No, this life-changing treasure is hiding in plain sight, mixed with your spare change, forgotten in a drawer, or tossed into a coin jar years ago. But what makes this specific quarter so valuable? Why are collectors whispering about it in hushed tones? And why are seasoned dealers racing to track down every known example? It all started with a mistake, not just any error, a deeply hidden, nearly invisible minting flaw that almost no one caught when the coin was released, until one man spotted something strange, something that looked off, and what he uncovered stunned the entire numismatic world. But before we reveal the error that made this coin worth nearly $2 million, you need to understand just how deceptive this coin really is. In 2014, the U.S. Mint launched the Arches National Park quarter as part of its America the Beautiful series. It featured the iconic stone arch, delicate arch rising majestically from Utah's Red Rock Desert. Tens of millions were minted. It was supposed to be a routine release, nothing out of the ordinary, but buried deep within that production run, in a very limited batch struck at the Philadelphia Mint, marked with a tiny P, something went wrong. Now listen closely, because here's where the story takes a wild turn. A few quarters from that Philadelphia run came out with a subtle doubling in the design, but this wasn't ordinary die doubling. On these rare coins, the doubling appeared in the delicate arch itself, a tiny shift in the lines that changed the shape of the arch's shadow. Most eyes missed it, but under magnification, it was undeniable. This can't be real, one expert said, it's too perfect, too rare. But it was real, and when the first verified example hit auction, jaws dropped. Pulled from pocket change, held under a magnifying glass, almost dismissed as nothing, sold for over $1 million. Someone, somewhere, spent that coin at face value, and someone else turned it into a fortune. But what happened next stunned even seasoned collectors. Another example surfaced, then another, and then, nothing. 4 months, even years, the trail went cold. Dealers scoured rolls, collectors searched banks, YouTubers posted guides, but those rare doubled arch quarters? They vanished. Only a handful have ever been confirmed. Some say fewer than 10. Others believe there are more, still out there, just waiting to be found. And this is where you come in, because if you're watching this, if you're still listening, then there's a chance. A real chance. One man found his in a pile of coins left behind by his grandfather. Another pulled it from a Coinstar reject tray. A third, he got it as change at a gas station in Nevada. Each time, the result was the same: disbelief, joy, and life-changing money. But most people walk right past it, because they don't know what to look for. So now, let's reveal the secrets. If you want to find the 2014 P Arches quarter worth up to $1.9 million, here's what you need to do starting right now. First, check the mint mark. The coin must have a P for Philadelphia just to the right of Washington's ponytail on the obverse, heads side. And next, flip the coin to the reverse. You'll see the stunning delicate arch and the rugged Utah landscape now. And this is where the magic is. Look closely at the lines of the arch. Use a magnifying glass or loupe if you have one. You're looking for subtle doubling, particularly around the lower right leg of the arch and the shadowed areas under the curve. It's not dramatic like some doubled dies. That's what makes it so elusive. But if you know what to look for, it's unmistakable. The genuine $1 million versions show a ghost-like second outline, faint but present, especially where the light transitions to shadow. Some also report a slight texture distortion in the surrounding rock, like a ripple or wave. Others notice tiny notches along the inner arch, signs of a misaligned die or rotational shift. Most of these signs are only visible under 10x magnification. To the naked eye, they look like every other quarter. But with the right eye and the right light, you'll know the Collector said he noticed the arch looked thicker than usual, almost like it had a shadow, but not from the design, from the metal itself. That detail changed everything, because once he sent it to a grading service, it came back with an official designation 2014 P Arches quarter, double die reverse, discovery variety. Now, imagine that moment, holding a quarter you thought was worth 25 cents, realizing it's worth more than your house, more than your retirement. More than anything you ever thought a single coin could be worth. That's why collectors are obsessed. That's why dealers are desperate, and that's why this coin, this small, ordinary, easily overlooked coin, is rewriting numismatic history. But we're not done yet, because there's one more twist. Some experts believe there's a second variety, even rarer, still waiting to be confirmed. A possible reverse clash, where part of Washington's head transferred faintly onto the back of the coin during a misstrike. Only one rumored example has been seen, and if it's real, it could break the $2 million mark. Grab every quarter from 2014 you can find, sort them, look for the Philadelphia Mint mark, and examine every single arch's design under magnification. Take your time, use light from different angles, look for the signs, doubled lines, shadow ripples, unnatural thickness. This coin has been mistaken for a regular quarter millions of times, even by professionals. Your story could be the next headline: Ordinary man finds $1 million quarter in kitchen drawer. Retired woman discovers life-changing coin in old purse. Teen flips 25-cent coin into $1 million miracle. This is not a fantasy yet, it's already happened, and it could happen again, maybe, to you, because the 2014 P Arches quarter worth up to $1.9 million is still out there, waiting, hiding, disguised as loose change, until the right eyes uncover the truth. So check your coins, check them again, because this exact quarter could be sitting in your drawer right now, and it's worth what else did. What looked like an ordinary 1981 Washington quarter turned out to be a $1 million mistake, and when it finally hit the auction block, the entire coin world held its breath, because this isn't just any quarter. This is the 1981 P Mint Mark Washington quarter, a coin so deceptively common, yet so incredibly rare in its prized error form, that even top-tier collectors are hunting it like buried treasure. And here's the kicker: it was made in a year when the US Mint was rushing production, cranking out coins by the millions. Mistakes? They weren't just possible, they were inevitable, but one mistake stood out from the rest, because hidden in this coin is a flaw so small, so easy to overlook, that thousands have probably tossed it away without a second thought. And yet, for the few who know what to look for, it's worth up to $1.80 million. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. You see, in 1981, the Philadelphia Mint was under pressure. Coin shortages, rising demand, and aging machinery meant that speed trumped precision. And during this time, a batch of Washington quarters, minted with a subtle but devastating error, quietly entered circulation. No announcement. No warning. Just a quiet wave of coins, hiding something extraordinary, and for years, no one noticed, until one day, a man in Ohio opened his grandfather's coin jar. Inside, he found a worn quarter. Scratched. Dirty. Nothing unusual, until the light hit it just right. The mint mark looked wrong. The eagle's details seemed sharper. The edge was slightly off. He showed it to a local dealer, who laughed at first. Until he saw it up close. They ran tests, checked references, and what they discovered shook them both. This wasn't just any quarter. It was one of the ultra-rare 1981 P quarters with a double die reverse, a flaw so precise it can only be seen under magnification, but so rare, it sends values soaring into the millions. Collectors were stunned. Dealers were scrambling. And the bidding war that followed became the stuff of legend. But here's what most people miss: the 1981 P Mint Mark quarter doesn't look rare. In fact, millions were minted that year. But the valuable version? It hides in plain sight, camouflaged among the ordinary. Look closely at the back of the coin: the eagle's wings, the arrows, the lettering. If you see signs of doubling, where parts of the design appear to be slightly echoed or shadowed, you might be holding one of the most valuable coins in modern US history. And the front? Check Washington's profile. In some cases, the doubling appears in his hair and jawline, but beware, many fakes have surfaced. Counterfeits. Cleaned coins. Damaged dies. The key is authenticity. Only a certified grading service like PCGS or NGC can confirm the truth, and that confirmation can turn a 25-cent coin into a $1 million miracle. And yes, I said $1 million miracle, because one verified 1981 P quarter with full double die detail and mint condition, sold privately for over $1.80 million. A coin that could be sitting in your change jar right now was once picked up for free at a yard sale, but what makes this story even more unbelievable is how close it came to being destroyed. According to reports, another collector nearly spent his rare 1981 p quarter at a gas station, thinking it was just another piece of pocket change. It wasn't until he noticed the unusual rim and took a second glance that he paused and saved it, because that very coin, later graded MS67 with confirmed double die reverse, went on to sell for six figures at auction. And that's why you need to check your quarters, especially the ones from 1981. Especially those with the P mint mark, because while most people pass them by without a second thought, a handful contain the secret that's made collectors weep, scream, and fall to their knees in disbelief. And just when you think you've seen it all, there's another twist. Some of the rarest 1981 p quarters weren't just struck with doubling, they were struck on the wrong planchet. A mistake so outrageous, it seems impossible, but it happened. These errors include quarters struck on nickel blanks, or even foreign coin stock. The weight is off. The size is slightly different. And if you drop it on a table, it sounds wrong, but to a trained ear, that's the sound of a fortune. Most of these coins aren't behind museum glass or locked in vaults. They're out there, still hiding. In rolls. In jars. In attics. One man found his in an old coffee can, buried under rusted tools. Start with the date, 1981. Then check the mint mark, look for the P, placed just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Next, examine the reverse side under good lighting. Check for any signs of doubling, especially in the eagle's wings, the tail feathers, the olive branches, or the lettering, especially the word $quarter. If anything looks blurry, echoed, or slightly shadowed, do not spend it, flip it again. Look at Washington's profile. See any signs of doubling in the eye, mouth, or chin? That's another red flag, and it might just be your golden ticket. And if the coin feels or sounds different, heavier, lighter, thinner, or thicker than usual, it could be struck on the wrong planchet. In that case, it's worth getting professionally weighed and authenticated. And here's a critical warning: never clean the coin. Never polish it. Never try to improve its appearance. Even a tiny scratch from a cleaning cloth can destroy its value. Instead, place it in a soft coin flip or airtight capsule and contact a reputable dealer or grading service immediately, because this exact quarter, the 1981 p Washington quarter, has already changed lives, and yours could be next. So before you toss your change into the tip jar or feed a parking meter, stop. Look again, because the $1 million miracle doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it hides beneath decades of dust, waiting for someone like you to find it. They almost spent it on a cup of coffee, but this single Mississippi quarter, stamped with a tiny D, turned out to be worth nearly $2 million. Collectors still talk about it like a myth. One man found it mixed in with parking meter change. Another said it came from a gas station cashier who almost threw it in the damaged tray. But this wasn't just any quarter. This was the 2002 D Mississippi quarter, with a hidden detail so rare, so extraordinary, that only a handful of people in the world have ever seen it with their own eyes, and it may still be out there, hiding in plain sight, because what makes this coin special is almost invisible to the untrained eye. But once you see it, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. This is the true story of how a forgotten quarter from a southern state shocked the entire coin world and turned ordinary Americans into millionaires. The Mississippi quarter was supposed to be just another part of the 50-state quarters program. A patriotic celebration of American states, minted for circulation between 1999 and 2008. Most people ignored them, some collected them in folders from the bank, but almost no one realized that a handful of these coins, minted in Denver in 2002, would go on to become some of the most valuable modern coins in American history, because something went wrong. And it all started at the Denver Mint. The Mississippi quarter features two elegant magnolia blossoms, a tribute to the Magnolia State, with the words "The Magnolia State" proudly inscribed above. It's a beautiful coin, no doubt, but in a specific batch of these quarters, the details of the magnolias were off. Collectors who saw them in person said it felt like the flowers had been burned into the coin. Others described them as looking like ghost blossoms. A minting mistake wrapped in artistic perfection. And behind this haunting beauty was a die clash, a rare minting error where the metal dies collide with no coin between them, damaging the design and creating ghost-like impressions that overlay parts of the coined eye. In most cases, the U.S. Mint catches these errors before they ever leave the facility, but not this time. Somehow, A small number of 2002 Mississippi quarters with this exact die clash escaped into circulation, and what happened next stunned even the most seasoned coin dealers. Ata. Quiet Midwest auction in 2021, one of these error coins, barely noticed at first, sparked a bidding war. It started at $500. Within seconds, it hit $10,000. Then $50,000. Then six figures, and by the end of the night, the final bid was $1.87 million. A man who had once worked minimum wage jobs was now a millionaire because of one quarter in his kitchen drawer. But here's the twist most people miss: that wasn't even the only coin. The coin world was shaken. Forums exploded. Dealers were calling every client they knew. People were scouring coin rolls at banks, flooding coin shops, and searching every cash register in sight, because multiple versions of the error exist. Some show heavy die clashes, deep, almost skeletal outlines of the magnolia. Others have rotated die strikes, the front and back of the coin misaligned at strange angles. Some even show faint doubling along the phrase e pluribus unum. And one specific combination, a heavy die clash with die rotation, is now considered the $1 million variant. But here's the real kicker: some of these coins are still out there. In jars, in glove compartments, in purses and pockets, waiting for someone to notice what most people overlook. And if that someone is you, your life could change in an instant. Because identifying the $1 million Mississippi quarter isn't just about finding the right date. It's about knowing the secret. Markers, collectors who've sold theirs for life-changing. Some say the signs are subtle, but once you know them, you'll never forget them. Flip the coin and check for die rotation. Hold the quarter straight, with George Washington's face upright. Now flip it vertically. If the magnolia on the back is tilted even slightly, instead of being straight up and down, you may be holding something incredibly rare. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to examine the magnolia blossoms. Look for ghost-like outlines or double edges that don't match the rest of the design. These are signs of a die clash, when the coin dies hit each other directly, creating a haunting overlay of details. Some coins even show part of George Washington's silhouette bleeding into the reverse design. And finally, look at the mint mark. If it's a clean, crisp D from the Denver Mint and matches the other error signs, you may have a match, but be careful. Tons of counterfeit versions have appeared online, trying to mimic the ghost blossom look. These fakes usually have rough surfaces, inconsistent font spacing, or artificially aged patinas. They look like any other quarter at first glance, until you see the ghost, and that's what makes this story so incredible, because every day, average Americans are walking past $1 million coins without even realizing it. This isn't just about collectors or dealers anymore. It's about ordinary people, waitresses, teachers, retirees, students, who stumble across a small piece of metal that changes everything. One man in Texas said he found his in the pocket of a coat he hadn't worn in 10 years. A woman in Pennsylvania said she got hers as change for a vending machine. Both are now millionaires. But here's the moment that shook the entire coin world. In early 2024, a Mississippi quarter identical to the original die clash discovery surfaced in a rural estate sale. It had been sitting in a coin folder since 2003. Purchased by a collector for 25 cents at a garage sale. It shattered expectations again, this time selling for $1.9 million. That sale reignited the fire. Coin shops across the country reported people lining up to have their 2002 quarters inspected. Collectors formed online groups dedicated to the search, because no one knows exactly how many escaped. Some experts believe fewer than 20 exist, others think more are still out there, waiting, forgotten. If you find one, it could change your life forever. A 2002 Mississippi quarter with a D mint mark on the front. To flip it vertically, check for die rotation. Use a magnifier, search for ghost-like floral impressions or unusual outlines in the magnolias, watch for doubling or irregular textures, and most of all, trust your instinct. If something feels off about the coin, that might be the sign, because the most valuable coins in the world don't scream their worth, they whisper it, in the tiniest imperfections, in the most overlooked places. It started out like any other quarter. Just 25 cents, ordinary. Unnoticed. Tossed into pockets, vending machines, maybe even dropped between couch cushions, but what most people missed was the secret hidden in plain sight. A detail so rare, so bizarre, it would shake the entire coin world to its core. This is the story of the 2020 P Mint Mark Weir Farm quarter, the coin that stunned collectors, defied expectations, and turned pocket change into a potential $1 million miracle. And here's the part that still sends chills through the numismatic world: almost no one knew it existed, until one man stumbled upon it during a rainy afternoon at a coin roll hunting meetup in rural Pennsylvania. It was late in the day, the boxes were mostly empty, collectors were packing up, and then he saw something. A shimmer. A glint. A slightly off-center edge, and in that quiet, barely lit moment, history was unearthed. but what he discovered wasn't just a coin, it was a mystery. A minting anomaly so precise, so unexpected, that experts didn't believe it was real. The 2020 Weir Farm quarter was already part of the U.S. Mint's America the Beautiful series, celebrating iconic national sites. Weir Farm, Connecticut, a place of natural beauty and artistic heritage, but this specific coin, with a P mint mark for Philadelphia, wasn't like the others. It had something extraordinary. Some called it a double strike. Others whispered about a rare die clash, but the true cause? That remains debated to this day. What they did agree on was the value, because when that collector finally had the coin appraised, the number stunned him. Not $500. Not $5,000. Not even $50,000. Auction houses started calling, dealers were offering blank checks, and one shocking bid reached over $1 million. And just like that, one man's loose change became a national sensation. But here's where it gets even more unbelievable. That wasn't the only one. Not since then, a handful of similar Weir Farm quarters have surfaced, each slightly different, each possessing subtle, nearly imperceptible traits that drive collectors wild. A misplaced P, a doubling in the leaves, a crack along the artist's palette, tiny imperfections that mean everything. Some experts believe that a small batch of these error coins, maybe 20 to 30 in total, were released into circulation before anyone noticed. That means they're still out there. In jars, in wallets, in car consoles, waiting to be found. But what happened next stunned even the most seasoned dealers. One coin, almost identical in appearance to the first, sold quietly at a private auction for over $700,000. No press. No fanfare, just a quiet transaction that set the underground coin market ablaze. Phone lines lit up, collectors were flying cross-country just to verify sightings. And one Connecticut couple, a retired school teacher and his wife, found a potential match in their vacation coin jar they had saved quarters from their 2020 road trip, just as souvenirs, and among them was a Weir Farm quarter with a chillingly familiar flaw. A subtle crescent-shaped mint error, right beneath the trees. They sent it for authentication, and the email they received 2 weeks later changed their lives forever. And yet, you won't find these coins on eBay, you won't see them sitting in glass display cases at your local shop, because those who find them don't let go. Look for the P mint mark. It will be on the obverse, that's the front side, just to the right of George Washington's ponytail, that confirms it was struck in Philadelphia. Examine the reverse side, the Weir Farm scene. Focus your eyes on the artist at the easel. Look for any signs of doubling, especially in the outline of the trees, the easel legs, or the letters in Weir Farm. But here's what most people miss. A few of the $1 million versions show a die break, a thin crack running diagonally across the sky or through the top of the trees. This might look like a scratch, but under magnification, it's clearly raised, meaning it was struck that way. That's the error. The P mint mark may be slightly tilted or misaligned, a microscopic flaw caused by a loose die. Collectors call it the leaning P. And it's one of the key giveaways. Still others feature what's known as a struck-through error, when a foreign object like a thread or fiber is struck into the coin's surface during minting. On these Weir Farm quarters, it can appear as a shadow-like smear near the bottom. It has all three. And fewer than 5 are believed to exist. But here's the twist. Most coin shops don't even know what to look for. They'll glance, shrug, pass it off as ordinary, and that's where your opportunity lies, because if you train your eye, if you study the details, you might be the next to uncover one of these forgotten treasures. These coins were minted just a few years ago, in 2020. They're modern. They're still circulating, and yet, some are now considered among the most valuable quarters ever created. Think about that right now, as you watch this. Millions of people are spending these quarters without a second thought, buying gas, paying tolls, tossing them in tip jars, and among them could be one of the few coins worth $1 million. It doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you live, all it takes is one moment, one glance, to change your life. So the next time you're handed change, don't look away, look closer, check for the P mint mark, scan for doubling, inspect the artist, the trees, the sky, and that telltale die break. Because these errors are real. They're out there, and they are waiting to be discovered. This isn't just a coin, it's a key. A ticket. A once-in-a-lifetime shot at $1 million. A simple 1995 quarter, the kind most people wouldn't look at twice. It sat in a coffee can, forgotten in someone's garage. Dusty, dull, worth 25 cents, or so they thought. But when one collector spotted it, everything changed. Because hidden in the fine lines of that coin was a mistake, a powerful, rare, and $1 million mistake that stunned even the most seasoned experts. You're about to hear a story that's as unbelievable as it is true. And by the end, you'll know exactly what to look for, because this same quarter could be hiding in your change. Right now, it was the mid-90s. Denver's U.S. Mint was producing tens of millions of quarters a month. Machines roared. Coin blanks clattered. It was routine, fast, efficient, flawless. Or so they thought among the masses. A small number of 1,995 Washington quarters stamped with a tiny D4 Denver were born differently. And that difference would eventually set them apart from the rest, turning them into hidden treasures of staggering value. But at first, no one noticed, not the banks, not the stores, not even collectors. For years, these coins passed from hand to hand, buying coffee, feeding parking meters, disappearing into vending machines, never revealing their secret. Until one man, digging through a bag of mixed coins at a flea market in Colorado, noticed something strange. The coin looked normal, but something about the lettering, it was off. The word Liberty seemed just a hair thicker. The edges, sharper. The quarter seemed bolder, somehow. He took out his magnifying glass. And what he saw sent a chill down his spine, and not just any double die. This was one of the most dramatic doubling errors ever seen on a modern Washington quarter. The date, the inscriptions, even the fine details of Washington's profile appeared doubled, creating a ghost-like effect that only happens when the die itself shifts between strikes. He had just uncovered one of the rarest minting errors in recent U.S. history, and the first known 1995 D Washington quarter double die obverse. But what happened next stunned the entire coin world. Word spread fast. Collectors were electrified. Dealers scrambled to verify the coin's authenticity. And when it was certified by PCGS and later auctioned, the room went silent as bidding climbed past $100,000, $200,000, until it finally sold for just over $1.1 million. A quarter, a coin worth 25 cents, had just made history. Since then, rumors have swirled about other examples. A handful have surfaced. Most are worn, damaged, or partially struck, but even in rough condition, they're fetching thousands. And the pristine ones? They're now considered holy grails of modern coin collecting, and here's the chilling part: most people who've handled one never knew it could have paid for a soda. It could have been tossed in a tip jar. It could be sitting in your drawer right now, because the 1995 D double die quarter hides in plain sight. Start with the mint mark. Look just to the right of Washington's ponytail, you'll see the small d. That confirms it was minted in Denver. Now look at the date, 1995. Here's where things get exciting. With a magnifier, examine the word Liberty. On the rare double die, the letters are clearly doubled, not just slightly, but dramatically. Some say the B and E are the easiest to spot. Next, check In God We Trust. Those letters too may appear shadowed or thickened, with a ghost-like effect behind them. Finally, examine Washington's eye, mouth, and the profile line of his face. On a true double die, these areas look etched twice, like the image shifted mid-strike. There are fakes out there, coins artificially altered to mimic the doubling. Those are worth nothing. And there are natural, minor doubling effects caused by die fatigue, but those don't carry any real premium. This tiny detail is why it's worth millions, and most people miss it. The real deal shows mechanical doubling of the design elements, especially in crisp, uncirculated condition. And only coins verified and slabbed by trusted grading services like PCGS or NGC will sell for big money. Experts believe less than 50 authentic 1995 D double die quarters have ever been found, but thousands, maybe even tens of thousands, could still be out there. In drawers, in jars, in change piles all across America. And here's where the story takes another wild turn. One woman in Arizona, cleaning out her late father's belongings, found a tin of old change. Most of it was ordinary. But at the very bottom was a 1995 D quarter that looked strange. The letters bulged. The face seemed ghosted. She sent it in for grading, and days later, she was holding a certificate declaring it a genuine 1995 D double die obverse quarter in near mint condition. Dealers offered her $800,000. She held out, and last year, she quietly sold it for just under $1.10 million. Her father's pocket change, his forgotten coins, had just changed her life. Because the treasure isn't just in ancient gold or Civil War relics, sometimes, it's in the most ordinary, modern coins, the ones we ignore every single day. This isn't just about coins, it's about second chances, it's about what's hiding in plain sight, it's about the thrill of discovering something no one else saw. Dealers are on high. Alert, collectors are hunting every 1995 D quarter they can find, and you now know the secret they're all chasing. Look for the 1995 date, check for the D mint mark from Denver, inspect the inscriptions, Liberty, In God We Trust, and the date, for clear, ghost like doubling, and most importantly only trust coins graded by PCGS, NGC, or Annex. Because one real 1995 D double die quarter, in great condition, is still commanding over $1 million at private auctions.